jananti, mantram ya mantritam pare. Kritamevasya jananti, savai pandit uchyate. The person who knows his actions, behavior, confidentiality, and thoughts after completion of the task is the same person who is intelligent. Good morning to one and all present here. Today I, Shreya Saurav,
and I, Krishna Khanna,
on behalf of Jagannath International Management School, Vasant Kunj, would like to take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to our guest, Mr. Suresh Natarajan, and Director Sir.
Mr. Natarajan has a master's degree in computer science from University of Cincinnati and mathematics from BITS Pilani. He began his career working in technology sector and did so for more than 15 years in companies such as Microsoft and Amazon, both in software design and management. Then he quit the corporate world to probe into deeper philosophical questions which led him to explore different teachers and traditions. He found the grand version of oneness revealed by the teachings of the rishis of Bharat to be timeless and thus most relevant to all generations of people. He now travels the world to unfold these teachings through both online media and in-person interactions with special focus on helping the youth awaken to their full potential.
We also have with us Dr. Ravi Kethar, Director Gens Vasant Kunj. He strives to make education a meaningful experience for the learners and to create institutions wherein education is reborn in its experiential form with support systems that facilitates this process. I would now like to call upon stage Director Sir to enlighten us with his thoughts and get the ball rolling.
A very good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. We have students here from BCA. How many BCA? Okay. And how many are from BBA? Okay, so mainly from BCA and BBA. Anyone from BJMC as well? None. Okay, good. So we have students from management and information technology. Okay, very good. Well, the basic purpose of organizing this talk is to give you something which is relevant to your needs. The stage at which you find yourself is one in which you're beset with many questions. There are questions in your mind, there are aspirations in your heart, ambitions.
Yes.
You would like to touch the skies, like a Neil Armstrong, be there in the space. But then there are also questions about the problems that you encounter. Most of you come from different backgrounds. Problems are not just academic, problems are also familial, related to families, related to many issues, peer-to-peer interaction issues, all these issues, and it creates a kind of a potpourri of so many things, and at times we've seen students taking extreme steps and extreme decisions. I hope you understand when I use the expression extreme. By extreme I mean there are instances where even students have committed suicides. What is it that goes on in the mind of a young boy or a young girl at this age? What is it that drives that child to take such harsh, precarious decisions which could, at the risk, at the peril of his or her own life? Is life so cheap that it can be thrown away? Or life is very precious? Now, these are questions to which we don't have answers in our curricula. Our educational system, unfortunately, is very functional in its approach. What it targets is the imparting of functional skills to you so that you can earn your livelihood. But is that all? Is that the be-all and end-all of all your learning, that you should learn how to earn money? Ultimately, it's not money which is the end. Money is a means. And it's a means to living your life meaningfully and purposefully. Unfortunately, our educational system does not address it. But fortunately, in this country, after 35 years of Indian independence, we have come up with a new national educational policy which incorporates this element into education. Because we feel that if a child does not know where he or she should be headed and what he or she should expect from life, and how he or she should respond to challenges in life, then the educational system has failed itself. So these things have been now incorporated, and interestingly enough, India has the unique privilege of doing it successfully. You could ask why. The reason is, our country may not have built skyscrapers in the past. You may not get monuments, monumental monuments in India. But even that we are discovering these days. I don't know how many of you check out for that on the internet and YouTube. There are people who are discovering that as well. There's a channel, YouTube channel by Praveen Mohan. If you look up that channel, you'll find the kind of work, architectural work that has been done in the past in India. But leaving that aside, the most important thing that India is gifted with is a cultural and intellectual and spiritual heritage, the like of which you do not see anywhere in the world. The West became civilized only around the time when Renaissance started. But we have been civilized thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, what happened was there was a deep disconnect because of the disruptions in the continuity of our history. We lost connection with our past, and that became something foreign and alien to us. Second thing was the language in which all this wisdom is incorporated, recorded, Sanskrit. We lost touch with that as well. I shouldn't use the word a dead language, but going by the conversational, the people-to-people interactional scenario, there are hardly any people who know Sanskrit. Even those who learn yoga, Ayurveda in the north, unfortunately when they learn Ayurveda, they learn it the allopathic way. So when you learn Ayurveda the allopathic way, Ayurveda fails. So that's why you don't find effective. That's why you have often this confused notion, this mistaken notion, in fact, that Ayurveda is not as effective as allopathy. Whereas I can vouchsafe to you that Ayurveda is far more effective than allopathy, and without medication. Without taking any medication, you can get well. This is the beauty of this country, and this is also the irony of this country, that when we were bequeathed a wisdom, the like of which you cannot see anywhere in the world. We did not treasure it, we did not continue that. And what did we do instead? We walked in the footsteps of the white man. Why? Because he looks white. And anything that looks white glitters, shines, dazzles. And you feel that because he has a dazzling appearance, so his wisdom should also be dazzling. So I'll leave it at this, and that's why we have this talk today here. We have a talk by our distinguished guest, Mr. Suresh Natarajan, as was informed to you by the MCs. He's been a computer science engineer, a software developer, and then he had questions. You see, the beginning of a journey is always with a question. You go to a class without a question, that's why you find the class boring. You have no questions in your mind. You get the answers before you get the questions. Usually in a text, the answers are first, questions are at the end, comprehension questions. Isn't that the way the textbooks are designed? The questions are always at the end, whereas the question should come first. If you don't have a question, why should you be learning the answer? Unless you have a question, you can't learn. And that's the beauty of this wisdom, that you learn only when you have a question. So he has had questions, he's been trying to find answers, and he has found certain answers. So he's here to share his wisdom on certain things which would be of fundamental concern to you. And therefore, I'll not speak more. I'll not come between him and you any longer. So I thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to him. Please listen to him carefully, because it is something that you need. It is not something which is called information. Information is galore in computer, on the internet. You can get as much information as you want. The wisdom is missing. And wisdom comes not by swallowing information, it comes by digesting information. And you digest only when you have hunger. Only when you are hungry that you have. So you have questions, there are answers with him. So try to get the answers that you have, to the questions that you have. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts. Now, I would like to call my colleague, Kunika, to present a planter to our special guest.
We are fortunate to have Mr. Suresh with us, who will be enlightening us on the topic Shraddha and its significance for students. Shraddha or dedication is a primary factor behind any successful person, which signifies their commitment and devotion towards achieving objectives and life goals. Learning what it means to be dedicated or committed to achieving a specific goal is a foundational principle for life that serves people in many other areas, which requires resolve, loyalty, and commitment.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Natarajan to illuminate us with his knowledge and experience. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you for the invite, and it's a great honor really to be here with all you young students and some faculty members, and your wonderful principal, Dr. Ravi Dhar. I remember as I was listening to your principal talk, who's a good friend. I've been very fortunate to know him. I was just remembering my undergrad days, which was in BITS Pilani, not too far from here. And there were many lectures, many courses I took in computer science and math and algorithms, programming and all of that. And management too. So it's good to know that there are both management and computer application students here, because those were the topics I was also interested in and I also worked on. But there were a couple of lecture series when I was in my undergrad by senior alumni of our college, which were focused on questions that had nothing to do with academics. He came and spoke about, the two people actually, both of them spoke about questions of life, about what is spirituality, why should we bother as students of science and math, why should we be interested in this? And these talks that I attended left a very strong, indelible impression in me that actually took life later and became the questions and then the pursuit of answers. So I would humbly venture to say that this talk hopefully does some of that for some of you, or maybe all of you, because the topic of this talk is you, right? That is the most important thing. Shraddha is the attitude of dedication as it was introduced. There are many facets to it, we'll go into it. But the most important thing for all of us to recognize is that this talk is about you. This is not about acquiring information, as Dr. Dhar beautifully put it. It is about learning about yourself, listening about what is it that I am facing as problems, and how do I solve it? What is the wisdom I can use to solve it? So, just to give a quick story of how I met Dr. Dhar, because it has a certain lesson in it which is connected to Shraddha and which is connected to many things we are going to talk about. I was traveling in the Himalayas recently, and I was staying in a place, and I was very comfortable. I had a good routine. It was a nice place and all of that. But suddenly, there was a lot of problems that started coming. The plumbing was not working. The bathroom had issues. The water was not running. And the owner, who was living in the US, he said abruptly that I cannot fix all of this, so can you please vacate the place? And I was feeling very anxious for some time. I thought, this is high season, it's very difficult to find a place to stay, and I'm suddenly asked to vacate a place that I was very comfortable in. So, but then I thought, okay, this is what is happening and I have to just go with it. So I just took a deep breath, walked around, and sure enough, I found a nice place which had a room for me to stay, which is nearby in an organization, in a spiritual organization. And not only that, after I stayed there for some time, I was again comfortable in my routine. I had my room and I had a setup. And then suddenly they told me that someone is going to share your room. And initially there was a slight resistance, because I'm already comfortable and I don't know who this new person is going to be, and it might upset my routine and all of that. But then again I took a deep breath and I said, if someone is coming, I'm sure they are coming for a good reason, and in this place you meet wonderful people, so let's see who comes. And sure enough, the person who came was Dr. Dhar. And I met him there, and we started talking, and we spent a few days together in the same room, and it was the most wonderful time I spent, and that's the reason I'm here. So what I felt as a challenge turned into something very beautiful, which is the opportunity to talk to all of you and to be here. The reason I bring this story, in addition to just giving context around how I am here, is also to point out that every challenge we face, if we face it correctly, it not only gets dissolved, but it actually leads to something that is far more beautiful than we had planned or we had imagined. I would not have planned this. I would not have imagined here at all, right? And every one of you here has the same potential, right? And when you are, especially in this stage of your life, the potential is so vast, and you have, as Dr. Dhar said, sky is your limit, and even beyond it, because space research is, now exploring aspects of the universe which were such a mystery for such a long time. So the crux of what I wanted to share as part of that story is that life always throws challenges at us, right? It can be, it's like t-shirt sizes. It's small, medium, large, extra large. Challenges are of different sizes. I gave an example of a small challenge which, when it was transcended, resulted in something very beautiful. The larger the challenge, the greater the result that comes out of it. Sure enough, you all know the story of the great prince who was in a battlefield and facing a tremendous crisis, because on the other side he had his uncles and cousins and grandfather. I know you are all nodding, because I thought, let me just see. So when he faced that was a huge crisis. That's an extra large crisis, small to extra large. So he had to not only face death, but he had to actually kill his own relatives. And when he had to face that crisis, luckily for him and for all of us, he had his best friend and the wisest teacher right next to him, who was Krishna. And because of that, we got the teaching of Gita. So, because the crisis was extra large, what came out of it is an immortal teaching that not only helped Arjuna transcend the crisis, but it's helping countless generations of people till today and for generations to come transcend. So the main lesson is challenges, crises, problems are inevitable. So the only choice we have is how do we face them. And if we face them the correct way, as I said, we not only transcend them, but we actually come to a place which we did not even expect or imagine. So what is this correct way we are talking about? Because whenever there is a problem or a crisis, we can either react to it, which is just jump into action, get frenzied and try to do something about it, or we can just take a deep breath, learn the problem, and out of the learning, act, right? So either you react or you learn and act. This is a very important distinction. Whenever a small thing, you're running late for your assignment, or you're going to meet a friend and the metro is running late, as it happened to me this morning. Or big things. You can simply react, we can get panicked, you can get frazzled, you can be worried, and then you may sometimes transcend the particular problem, but you don't get any better out of it, and the same problem is going to definitely manifest again because you didn't solve the root cause. But on the other hand, if you take the moment to learn, so one of the bizarre things about Bhagavad Gita, for example, is Arjuna is standing in the battlefield, and you would think that's the place of intense action. And in that place, in that intensity, you find a great philosophical discourse. So, learning happens even in the most intense situations. In fact, the more intense the situation, the deeper and the greater is the need for learning. If you think the situation is so intense that I don't have time to learn, I have to act immediately, more often than not you end up messing it up more. So learning and acting is worth the time you take in handling any problem, right? So learning is what we are all about then. And the beauty of this particular gathering is that you are all young students, and by definition, you are here in this institution of learning. I would also flip it the other way and say that just as the young are by definition learning, those who are learning are by definition young. The moment you stop learning is when you become old, not when you become 40 or 50 or whatever. I have seen people with very sharp minds constantly learning at 70. And I've seen people at 25 saying, I'm done with it, I'm in a routine, I don't need to learn anything more. So learning, being young is to learn, and learning is to be young. So please remember that always, that learning never stops, even when you leave this college and wherever you go. And learning is of, broadly speaking, 3 types. Dr. Adar already touched upon it. I'll expand a little bit on it. One is learning information, right? You can learn a lot of things, so that is also part of learning. So you face a problem and you have to learn, and that learning can be just information. So for example, problems can be in different realms. It can be health problems, it can be academic problems, it can be relationship problems, or it can be a very deep existential kind of problem, right? When, let's say, you are facing something very profound like Arjun did. Let's say you are facing, I met one young man right here in Delhi. He was standing and I asked him, he looked very sad, and he said his father is diagnosed with cancer, and he doesn't have the money for the treatment, and he is approximately your age. And so I had a small talk with him and just try to understand, but this is very serious problem, right? So problems can be of different types, right? And all these problems require learning. Now, learning can be at different levels, as I said. One is information. So some problems can be dealt with information. Let's say you have to take an example, let's say your doctor tells you are low on potassium. You need to just find out which vegetables have potassium, which fruits have potassium. The information is available today on Google. You find it, you change your diet, then you solve the problem. That's easy. Then comes what I call not information but knowledge, where it's not enough for you to just gain the information, but you have to do it. So application. So for example, you are going to work. You are not going to be spoon-fed a question that is coming from the answers, as it was nicely pointed out. You are going to be given an open-ended problem. So you have to break the problem down. Even if it is a computer science problem, you have to figure out what are the different parts of this problem, what algorithms I can use to solve this problem, and do it. Or simple life example, let's say you are now going to live alone somewhere and you have to cook. You have to learn how to cook. This is not information. You can find all the recipes, which is information, but that's not going to help you until you actually do the cooking. which is the solving of the problem. So you apply yourself to it, gain experience, and the experience is committed to memory, and the memory is knowledge, which again comes into next experience. So in this cycle, you solve problems, right? This is another level of problem which you can solve and which is very important today. So the first level of problem, as we said, right now it's all automated, mostly. You have everything available on the internet. Today we are coming to a place where the second level, doing, is also getting more and more into the realm of machines. Artificial intelligence systems, or there are systems right now that are being built which can even do cooking, which can write code, which can do many things, right? So that is also somewhat mechanical, but it requires application beyond just getting information. And it's important in its own way. But there is a third level, which is the word Dr. Dhar used, which is wisdom. And when we are talking of wisdom, it is learning about yourself. It is not about information about outer things. It is not about knowledge about how to do things or how to fix things or how to solve problems, both of which have their place. But it is about learning about yourself. And that is where, most importantly, this topic of Shraddha comes. Because you have to have the right attitude to learn. And that attitude is what we call a Shraddha. There are many English words that are covered by this one word. That is the beauty of Sanskrit language, as we already talked about. There is dedication, as you said. You have to be dedicated to understanding the root cause of what is causing problems in my life. The problems can be, as I said, problems with relationships, problems with your health, problems with your work situation, problems in your college, problems with your friends, so on and so forth, right? You have to be ready to look within yourself to see, why am I facing this problem? And that requires a certain dedication, sincerity. You have to be very sincere in order to see, I don't want to just escape this problem, but I actually want to understand the root cause. It's like, take a simple example. If you are getting unhealthy, and someone tells you that you can take this pill or that pill, that can solve the symptom. But if you really study the root cause, you may find out that your diet habits are bad, your exercise habits are bad. So you have to take the time and the effort to sincerely look at what is causing the problem and then solve it. So there is sincerity, there is honesty that's needed, because when you look at yourself, you will see a lot of ugly things. And you have to be very honest with yourself that these are all there inside me and I need to transcend them, right? Not hide from them. And finally, you have to have the confidence that I can do it, which is a better word than faith. You can say also faith, but it is not the kind of faith that is blind belief, but it is the kind of faith that is the same faith you have when you go and attend a course from your favorite professor. You have the faith that the professor knows what he's talking about, but at the same time, you're not going to blindly believe him. You have to apply your mind, inquire, and you discover for yourself. So there is a certain confidence in both the one who is unfolding the teaching and in yourself, that I can learn. So all of this confidence, which is faith without blind belief, dedication, sincerity, honesty, all of this is comprised by one word, which is Shraddha. So if you have the attitude of Shraddha, then you are able to look at yourself, learning about yourself. And in learning about yourself, you find the most beautiful answers that are necessary to transcend the problems of life. And when it comes to learning about yourself, I would say there are two aspects of it. Broadly speaking, I would say one is looking low and the other is looking high. What does it mean? Looking low means first being that's why I said honesty, very honest with yourself to see what are the patterns in me that is causing problems. I may be prone to lying, right? You have to be honest with yourself. You cannot say that I am so clean and I have no problems. Then you will not be facing many problems. You may be prone to constantly postponing. You may be prone to laziness. You may be prone to pretending to be like someone else, right? Because many times, especially in colleges and in high schools, one of the biggest problems people face is what is called as peer pressure. Someone is called cool, and then you want to be like that cool person, right? What you have to realize is when you try to pretend to be cool, you are not cool. You are cool when you are yourself. So these things that are very common and pervasive among not just students but everyone, which is all these ugly things in me, right? I have to be very honest about it. If I'm just hiding away and saying I'm going to think of God or I'm going to think of some lofty principle, that's not going to work. There is a nice saying that people don't find God because they don't look low enough. Think about that, right? If you don't look low enough, which is to say, if you don't look at all the dirt in you, then you cannot clean the dirt. So even if you have the most beautiful picture in front of you, if it is covered with dirt, the thing you have to do is acknowledge that there is dirt and clean the dirt. Then the picture reveals itself. You don't have to actually go find a new picture. It's already there. So you have to be able to look at yourself and each one of you look at yourself and see what is the thing that I am repeatedly getting into a problem with. Am I prone to constantly making excuses? Am I comparing myself with someone else and trying to be something that I am originally not? Am I always lazy and postponing, right? All of these things are very important to look at because this is called as clearing the ground. If your ground is not clear, you cannot look high. So you have to make sure that you look at yourself in the most honest way, and that is Shraddha. A great honesty to look at yourself, to look at all the various dirt in you, obstacles in you, behavior patterns that are causing problems in you, because you can see this repeatedly. I'm lazy and I'm always running late, or I'm lying and I'm always getting caught. And every time I'm getting caught, as I said, you can either react or learn and act. I can react by telling one more lie, or do this, do that, you manage. But you are always inviting the same problem. But if you take a step back and say, why do I lie? I'm lying because I'm always afraid of something. Lying always comes out of fear. So then what am I afraid of? So you have to ask this question to yourself. And when you find out that the person you are lying to is exactly the same as you. So if you tell him the truth, in all likelihood he's going to respect you rather than judge you or criticize you, because he's going through the same problems that you're going through, he or she. So every single behavior pattern you have that you are finding yourself as landing in trouble, landing in problems, if you look at them honestly and you negate them, that is what is called as looking low. So in other words, you don't have to cultivate any positive qualities. See, that's the beauty of it. You just have to negate the negative qualities. Why? Because the positive qualities are inherent in you. It's hard to believe. You see, no child lies, right? You take a small baby, doesn't lie, doesn't pretend to be some other baby, doesn't compare with another baby, doesn't steal. All the things that we have been acquired through society, through conditioning, through watching the wrong examples and all of that. So you are by nature truthful. You are by nature, same with laziness. You will see no child, no baby is lazy. Whenever it has to do something, it just does it. So all the negative qualities we have, we just have to negate them. We don't have to, because the moment you talk of cultivating positive qualities, it becomes an idea. You don't need any ideas. You just have to look at the truth. The truth is I have negative qualities. And these negative qualities are not natural to me. I have acquired them over time. And if I look at them honestly, in looking at them honestly, I transcend them. Every negative quality. And then my real nature is truthful and honest and all of that, right? So that is looking low. When you look low, you actually, pretty much, that is a huge step. It may look like a small thing, but it's a very hard thing for us to look low because, as I said, we are not honest with ourselves most of the time. We like to think we are very truthful. We like to think we never postpone. We like to think we are the best person around. But if we are that, then we wouldn't be having most of the problems we face. So to be having the self-awareness to look at my problems and to be honest with myself, be very sincere with myself, and have the confidence that I can transcend these problems because it is my inherent nature to not manifest these problems. This is Shraddha, for looking low and removing all the dirt in you. I encourage all of you to very seriously inquire right now. It's not something, as we said, it's not getting information, it is actually doing it. So if you look at it right now, I can see, okay, this behavior pattern is causing problem in me. And then once you recognize it, that itself is the first great step. Like someone said, I heard this morning, you cannot leave a prison until you know that you are in a prison. Right? The first step to leaving a prison is to realize that you are in a prison. If you don't even know you are in a prison, how are you going to leave it? So first step is to recognize what is the prison I am in, what are the qualities that is holding me back, and then transcending them, negating them. Now the second step is what I call, it's not steps really, I don't want to create an impression of time and one after another, both go together. The second aspect of it is looking high, which is that no matter what you do, right, even if you are even if you have transcended all your obstacles, right? Problems are not going to go away. A certain type of problems will go away. If you stop lying, some problems goes away. If you stop being lazy, some problems go away. So there is a bunch of things you clear the field by just reverting to your original nature, which is always free of all these negative qualities. But still, the truth of this world is that anything that has form will run into problem. Why? Because anything that's born dies. That's the nature of the world. And whenever something dies, it's a problem, right? And I'm not just talking of physical death. It can be anything. You are in a job, and the job comes to an end. You have to now find a new job. Or as I said, I'm in a house. The house comes to an end. I have to find a new place. And in an ultimate sense, someone, your parent, who you have lived with, their life comes to an end. So these problems are not going to go away regardless. So that is where you have to look high. Because the first realization there is that anything that is having form is temporary. The body, I was not looking like this when I was your age. And 20 years later, I look different. Things change. No thought remains forever. No emotion remains forever. So everything that is having form, when I say form, I don't mean only gross form. Gross form is like this, this body or this podium or whatever. And there are subtle forms like thoughts and emotions and feelings. Even they don't last. You can see that you were probably ecstatic yesterday, now it's gone. You were probably depressed yesterday, now it's gone. So nothing lasts, right? And our problems come because we expect things to last that are by nature temporary. That is the other big problem we have. One is, as I said, all the dirtiness. You clear that out, a lot of problems go away, and yet you still have this fundamental problem that form is temporary. All forms that you are associated with yourself, that is your body, your friends, your family, your parents, your relations, your work, everything is temporary, right? So how do you solve this problem? So there, what I would welcome you to consider is first acknowledging it, right? Most of the times we don't even acknowledge that things are temporary. When you see that things are temporary, it creates a space in you. You realize that, okay, you know what? Everything, college life is one of the most beautiful times, but again, it's going to end sometime. And, you go into a most beautiful job, that's going to end sometime, right? Everything. So just to recognize that everything comes with an expiry date. That is the nature of the world. And just that very recognition creates a space in you. And when you create that space in you, then you are able to accept that. And when you accept that everything is impermanent, you go into a different aspect of your being. So normally when you say yourself, now let's look at that, you take yourself to be, the body is there, the senses are there, so I see things, I smell things, I hear things, I taste things, I touch things, I think some thoughts, I have some emotions. This is basically the world, right? Is there anything I have left? This is what you call the world. All the sense objects, including the body. I see my body, I see your body. All the sense objects. I hear things. I smell, I taste, touch. I think thoughts, I feel emotions. There is one important thing that is left. That is that you are aware of all of this. When you look at it carefully, the fact that you are aware of the body itself means that you are not the body. The fact that you are aware of your thoughts means that you are not your thoughts. The fact that you are aware of your emotions means you are not your emotions. So, this awareness you have is untouched by the body, the thoughts, the emotions, and all of it. And we are always dwelling in forms, in the body, in thoughts and emotions, without recognizing that there is the essential awareness in me, which doesn't change with age, which doesn't change with coming and going of thoughts, of feelings, of emotions. And how do I recognize that? The easiest way to recognize that is by accepting everything that comes and goes. Because what is it that accepts everything? Your own awareness. When you accept your body as you are, instead of comparing with someone else, when you accept your emotions, when you accept your thoughts, when you accept the situation, it is important to, by the way, realize that accepting is not contrary to acting. In fact, out of accepting, true intelligent action comes. So for example, if I'm having a problem, that something is going wrong, if I'm constantly panicked about it, I don't respond correctly. But if I accept the problem, that this is how it is right now already a reality. I cannot go back in time and change it. It is what it is. If I keep, these words like it could have been this way, it should have been this way, it would have been this way, those are the ways in which the mind operates and never solves the problem. But accepting actually solves the problem, because when you accept it, you accept the reality of what is. And when you accept the reality of what is, in that very acceptance, you have transcended everything that is going wrong. And you are situated as the very awareness which is aware of the problem, aware of everything that is happening around you. And in that awareness, right action emerges. So accepting a problem and then acting intelligently to deal with the problem right now, whatever the right course of action is. This takes you to the dimension of, as I said, high. This takes you to the space within, which is beyond your body, beyond your thoughts, beyond your emotions, and to that pure space of awareness. So for example, as I said, when you face something, this is the reason why when in Gita, when Arjun faces this tremendous crisis of death of his relatives and including his grandfather, not only the death, but he has to actually kill them. So when he faces that, Krishna tells him exactly this, that you realize that all of this is happening as it is going to happen, and your duty is to do the job that you are supposed to do without questioning why. When you question why did it happen to me, why am I suffering, why is it not happening to others, these questions are the ones that take you away from action. When you, on the other hand, accept what is happening to you, and out of that acceptance, you act. You act fully, because there is no part of you that's resisting that moment. Whatever is happening now, you are not resisting it. There is not a part of you that is questioning it, that is wondering it could have been this way, it could have been that way. You are completely there, present, and you are accepting the situation. Now you have to act. You don't simply just, it is not a passive thing. The acceptance results in active, dynamic action. So this is again requiring tremendous shraddha, because you have to, because it is very tempting for us to get caught in attaching ourselves to something that we know. Like I said, when I know a place and I know it's comfortable, it's very easy to get attached to it. But if I accept that this place is not going to last, then out of that emerges a better place. So as long as we are attached to things, whether it is small or big, we are caught in something that's temporary. If we are able to, with great shraddha, which is, I know that people have transcended far worse situations, and every one of you has the ability to do the same. But it requires sincerity, it requires the dedication, it requires confidence in yourself to see that if I accept this situation and I act out of the intelligence of accepting it, then something beautiful will come out of it, and it always does. So, to summarize, what I would say is, when you first recognize, as I said in the beginning, that problems are inevitable, they come in different sizes, but they are always there, and you bring this attitude of shraddha to your learning, then you look both low and high, clear your ground to make sure none of the obstacles that are holding you back are there anymore, and look very high, which is to say, discover that part in you which can accept everything as it is. And we all are endowed with it because that is our very nature. And the last thing I would like to say in this regard is, for all of this to happen, you have to choose your company very wisely. It's very important to associate with good people, good books, even good movies, things that are taking you to your best self, to your highest self, and not people who are mediocre, who are saying anything goes, who are just, as I said, reacting from one crisis to another. such energy will drag you down. So you have to choose your company wisely, and you have to be that for others so that they will choose you as their company. So if you are very wise in choosing your company and being that good company for others too, and have that attitude of dedication and shraddha, and you are ready to look low enough and look high enough, then I guarantee you problems will still come, they'll keep on coming, but you will discover more and more beautiful things. Tremendous creativity will come out of you, and most importantly, you will be at great peace. And that peace is what is called as peace that surpasses understanding. It is tremendous peace, and that is compassion, and out of that great loving action, all of that comes forth. Every one of you is capable of that. We are all capable of that, but it's not easy. It requires diligence, which is shraddha, which is that sincerity and honesty and persistence, and also a great confidence. I wish you all the best to have that quality, that attitude of shraddha, and thereby manifest the best in each one of your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak to our student body on the topic Shraddha and its significance for students. It was indeed a wonderful and motivational session for us. Your personal experiences made the session really captivating.
I would also like to extend my gratitude to all the students and faculties who are present here. Thank you for giving your time and making your presence. With this, we come to the end of the event. Thank you all for attending this session.
Krishna. Just a minute. I would like.
You see, wisdom happens when what you hear, you interrogate that. Wisdom doesn't happen when you swallow what you've heard. Then it will. They said somebody asked a dumb student, a teacher asked a dumb student, why do you have 2 ears? He said, sir, one ear is for listening, another ear is for ejecting what I heard. So we should not do that. But somebody asked Ganesha, why do you have so long ears? He said, to hear from both the directions, and then I have a huge belly to store it there, to think over it, to digest it, and to make it a part of me. What I'm driving at is, try to look back in time in your life when you faced a problem and how you responded to that problem. If you responded to that problem by panicking and reacting, what were the outcomes? And in case you had a problem, you didn't panic, you didn't react, you said, okay, wait a minute, let me understand what the problem is. You gave time to yourself, understood the problem, found a solution to it, and what kind of a feeling did you have after that? I'm sure each one of you will have such experiences. From my own life, I can tell you, the periods of greatest adversity in my life have been the periods of greatest learning and greatest accomplishment for me. I think you're not getting what I'm trying to say. The periods of adversity were such that it seemed like somebody had thrown me into a well and there's no coming out. I'm dead, gone, finished. And right at that time, what I got, what I discovered deep inside that well was a pearl or diamond which no one could have ever discovered. It is not for no reason that it is that in the Sikh faith, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is the first Guru. He says, let adversity come to me more than, he invites adversity instead of good times. And in all situations, he says, Vahu, Vahu. Being upbeat in all situations. You learn more when you are challenged than when you have a cakewalk. And somebody, I was reading a WhatsApp message that was sent to me. Somebody quoted Henry Ford or somebody, that it is the aeroplane flies only against the wind. From the ground, it takes off against the wind, not with the wind. And if you, those of you who have flown kites, how do you fly a kite? Against the wind. The wind pushes the kite, you keep leaving door छोड़ते जाते हो, उसको हवा धक्का देती है, तब जाके उड़ता है. ऐसा तो नहीं करते जिस दिशा से हवा आ रही है उसी दिशा में उसको रखते हो तो फिर ऐसे वापस आपके पास पहुंच जाएगी. The resistance is essential for evolution, for growth. So never panic, never run away. But that happens only when you have faith in yourself. अगर आप अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करोगे अपनी बॉडी के साथ, अपने थॉट्स के साथ, जो माइंड है ना, माइंड इज द मोस्ट डिवियस, वेरी mercurial instrument that God has gifted to us. If you leave it to its designs, it will take you in different directions. तबाह कर देगा आपको. But if you know how to deal with the mind, so that is why you need to, what Suresh very rightly said, that you need to distinguish between you as an entity, you as the self, and your mind, your heart and your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. Because if you were to insert that sign of equality, equation लिखते हैं ना mathematics में, a plus b is a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Equality है. If you say you is equal to my mind, you are finished. You is equal to your emotions, you are finished. क्योंकि फिर आपका माइंड जिस दिशा में आपको ले जाएगा उस तरफ आप जाओगे, आपका दिल जिस तरफ ले जाएगा उस तरफ आप खत्म हो जाओगे, फिनिश हो जाओगे. आपकी बॉडी उसका अपना एक रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन है. द मोमेंट इट इज थ्रेटन्ड, बिकॉज ये तामसिक होती है, इनर्ट होती है, इसका एक अपना रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन होता है विच Pavlov स्पीक्स ऑफ. तो इफ यू ट्रस्ट योर बॉडी तो फिर वो भी उसी से यू विल बी ड्रिवन. You are the master of your mind, you are the master of your emotions, you are the master of your body. You are not your mind, you are not your emotions, you are not your body, you are the owner of all these three. और वो कैसे फीलिंग होगी, वो कैसे रियलाइजेशन होगी, उसके लिए भी सोचो आप. Awareness. You are the awareness of the self. So when you go into that, what he said very rightly, you go into that awareness, subjective, that is subjective, then you can see the objective part. Only then can you control the responses. क्योंकि आपके ना ज़्यादातर जो responses हैं वो reflex हैं. Even mind का action reflex है. Emotions के actions reflex है. हम react पहले करते हैं, बाद में सोचते हैं मैंने जो reaction किया वो ठीक था कि गलत था. That's why you get into a grief cycle. The moment a problem comes, मेरे साथ ही होता है हमेशा. You will see n number of people. You talk to so many people. मेरे साथ ही पता नहीं क्यों ऐसे होता है. अरे दुनिया में सभी के साथ होता है. तुम अकेले नहीं हो यार. मगर we have this. We think that we are the सारी दुनिया हमारे ही खिलाफ चल रही है. You are not that important. That the world has no other job except to trouble you. Or God has no other work except to trouble you. So get out of this self-important module or self-important dimension. That's it. So please think over it. It's important. Learning कैसे होती है? जब सुनते आप 20 मिनट हो और उसके ऊपर चिंतन और मनन आप 2 घंटे, 3 घंटे, 24 घंटे करते हो. Only then something beautiful is going to come out of it. Thank you. Please, if there are any questions, he'll be happy to answer.
Even if it's comments, it's, any comments or questions or.
सबसे पहले एक चीज ये तो मैं अपनी क्लास में सबसे पहला जो लेक्चर देता हूँ वो यही देता हूँ. Questions are never silly. Answers are. क्योंकि हम जो है ना as Indians we are very scared कि मैं उठूँगा सवाल पूछूँगा बाकी लोग स्निगर करेंगे अरे यार क्या सवाल पूछा. ऐसा नहीं. अगर आपके दिमाग में ऐसा प्रश्न उठा है, question that has occurred to you, it's a question worth asking.
So also it's likely a question that others have to.
Yes, and they are not articulating it. So please do ask questions. Don't be shy in asking.
As you talked about Bhagavad Gita, I read it 2 times. So there are too many shloks in it. So we can't just मतलब हम उसे याद नहीं रख सकते सारे श्लोकों के एक साथ. तो आप कहते हो कि मतलब उनसे सीखो और उन्हें अप्लाई करो. जब हम उन श्लोक्स को अपने माइंड में याद नहीं रख सकते तो उनको हम अपनी लाइफ में अप्लाई कैसे करें?
नो बट द इंफॉर्मेशन द व्हाट
रिलेट करो अपनी जिंदगी से.
नहीं बट जो इन्फॉर्मेशन जो उसमें दे रहे हैं उसको तो मतलब याद कर सकते हो ना. व्हाट द कृष्णा इज सेइंग श्लोक मत याद करो. द मेस
The thing is, let's say you are reading a book on.
And then when you actually apply it in your life, that knowledge becomes yours. That is knowledge in the case of computer applications. In Bhagavad Gita, the similar way wisdom is shared, right? You are not expected to memorize. There are many people who memorize all the shlokas and they still live life in the same pattern. And there are people who have never read the Gita or maybe just read one shlok, but their life is very subliminal. So the question is not how many shlokas you know, how much you have memorized. The question is, can I take even one shlok and make it my own reality? So for example, Shraddha we said. Krishna says in the Gita, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. It's just 3 words actually, not even a full shlok. He says, one with Shraddha attains wisdom. You can understand this, right? Sanskrit is very simple if you know Hindi and all. Labate is the same root as labh. हमें लाभ मिलता है. कौन सा लाभ मिलता है? ज्ञान का लाभ. So when do you get it? When you have Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. That's all, right? Now, you need to understand the word Shraddha and you need to understand the word Jnana. So that is what is exploring these 2 topics. So when you say Shraddha, what does it mean to be Shraddhavan? So we talked about it today. So in a sense we can say all we talked about today, though it covers different aspects of Gita, for example, it primarily focuses on that one shlok, which is why it is essential to have the attitude of Shraddha in order to gain wisdom. You cannot be a chalta hai kind of guy and get wisdom. You cannot say that, oh, anything goes, I'll just manage, theek hai, whatever. No. Krishna says you have to have Shraddha. And it's not just Krishna who says it. You don't have to, any wisdom teacher will say the same thing. You have to take it seriously and apply yourself and see that it is important for me to manifest the best in me. And the best in you is far more than what you are manifesting today. Because today we are, as I said, held back by so many things in us. So if I want to, in this nation especially, and even in other nations, in Bharat, we have so many great personalities who have come and who are still there. And they are not having a different brain from you. They are not having a different DNA structure from you. They are not having a different... The only difference between them and one who doesn't do that is Shraddha. So, if you see the real life examples of people who have achieved tremendous things in a meaningful way, tremendous things can be achieved in different ways. Even Hitler achieved tremendous things, but that's a very dangerous way to achieve. And someone who is a billionaire also achieves tremendous things. That's okay, that's not so great. But what is achieved by people who truly change the course of a nation in a positive way, that is there in you also. So for you to manifest that in your own way, not by comparing yourself with anyone else, in your own way, for you to manifest the best in you, you have to have Shraddha. So that is the aspect of this thing. So like this, you can take any one shlok and go into it deep. See, depth is more important than breadth. Knowing 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita is not important. Even knowing one shloka all the way is important. That's what. But you can read more as you are interested. But go deep, as Dr. Dhar said. Ponder on it, contemplate on it, see it applies to how it applies to my life, and through all of that, you truly bring it into a living reality. Thanks.
So there was one more question there.
I was asking.
As you said, be truthful all the time and speak truthfully, but we all have experienced like some lies saves us too in little effects, but some small lies or little lies saves us in our daily life. So you believe some lies are acceptable? If yes, what are those types of lies which are acceptable?
See,
So they're asking from the student point of view, if suppose they are coming late, then what excuse they supposed to give, like if you said that be open and come with your whatever you face.
right.
So,
See, one thing I would say is, right, almost always, when you speak the truth, your immediate response may not be positive, but the long-term response will be positive. So, for example, if let's say you speak this truth to your teacher, so you're late for an assignment. In fact, I remember this very well. When I was young, once I was late for an assignment, simply because I was playing a game. Right? I was playing football or something. I was watching football or playing, I don't remember. I suddenly remembered that I'm late for it. And then I walked to meet, I was working with another person. And in my mind, I had prepared a lie. I said, that I was this, that. Then as I was walking, suddenly it occurred to me that actually those are the moments you remember in life. I said, I'm working with him. What's the worst that can happen if I say I watched a sport? Because he also enjoys sports. And instead of me saying I this and that and this, I just say the truth. So I went and told him, you know what? I actually was playing football. I lost track of time. I didn't do anything. I'm late. He said, oh, okay, ठीक है, we'll do it. So I thought, I didn't say anything, but inwardly I was like, wow, that was so easy. You know, I was thinking that I should do this and that and say this lie and that lie. I just spoke the truth and he didn't have any reaction. He was in fact quite fine. That's not always the case, I understand. There are some cases where the person will react very angrily, right? But even in those cases, you will notice that that person who reacts angrily inwardly develops a respect for you. Because he says, well, you know what, this guy could have lied, but he actually spoke the truth. So there is a subtle respect that they grow for you, even if they outwardly react angrily, and that respect shows up in the long run. Now, there are exceptional situations when it's okay, probably, to lie, right? Like, for example, if someone's life is in jeopardy and you have to save them by a lie, sure, maybe you can lie, right? I'm sure you'll have to use your wisdom, as I said, right? There is no set rule. So that's why I said, I didn't say speak truthfully. I said, look at why you are lying. There's a difference between the two. If I say speak truthfully, it becomes a mechanical rule. But if you say don't lie, as in understand why you are lying, then you know why you are lying. Is it out of fear? Is it out of just giving an excuse? Or am I actually lying to help someone, let's say? And in that case, maybe it's okay to lie. So understand why you are lying and then act out of it. Most often you will speak the truth then. Rarely you may speak a lie because you understood the reason and you realize that that reason is a valid reason. That's all.
So I had one question. Like when I was reading about when I was reading about you were placed in like really good companies like Microsoft and Amazon. So what was your life changing? Everybody has that one event that brought you in this philosophy.
So the question was, why did I quit Microsoft and Amazon and do this? So I don't know if I can say there is one life-changing event particularly, but as I was working in Microsoft for many years, I was there for 11 years and then Amazon for a few years, I noticed that, first of all, people who are working in this for longer and longer time, more often than not, there is a certain culture in the corporate world that makes people conform to certain patterns, and I didn't like those patterns. And it doesn't mean the corporate world is not suitable for everyone. There are some people who do great in it and they be there for a long term. I just found that I have the time and energy, and I felt that it is not enough for me to have a nice house and a car, and those things were there by the time, and I thought I somehow didn't feel satisfied with that. It's okay, it's good, you can have all that, but at some point you realize that we are having so many problems as humanity, as this world. There is the ecological problem, there is the problem of war and terrorism and so many things. And I've always been interested in both the external news and the philosophical underpinnings of why these things happen. So if you really look at all the world news also, you notice that all of these are happening because people do stupid things. It's very simple. At the end of the day, people do stupid things. That's why you have leaders who are doing stupid things. You have corporate people who are doing, so everybody is acting out of greed or wanting more and all of that. So in order for us to create something beautiful, we have to contribute to it. And once your basic needs are met, then I felt it's good to at least spend the time to see what I can do to be part of the solution. Otherwise, we continue to be part of the problem. So in order to be part of the solution, you have to first understand. As I said, it's not about just one option I had in front of me was I can go join an NGO or something and do. That's okay, but that will be very partial because I can work on one particular problem. That is like a little bit like reaction. But learning is to learn the root cause of why we are creating all these problems in this world. And when we learn the root cause, we realize that the root cause is within us, within the human brain and the human mind. And when we learn that, then through that learning we transcend it, and then we can share the same. This is what has been done by all compassionate teachers, and that is why we are able to even access those teachings. So whatever little we can do, we do like that. You had a question?
Sir,
No. Okay. Anyone else? I don't know.
no.
Yeah.
Sir, I had a same question that what question or motive that motivated you or pushed from the luxurious technology side to the psychology and principle of life?
Yeah. So we already answered it. Yeah. By the way, this life is luxury is a very relative thing, right? I mean, there is no end to it. But if you minimize what you need for your luxury, then you can be luxurious anywhere. So it's not a problem. You have to. It doesn't mean that you have to give up everything. One of the myths we have sometimes is you have to. If you go to this, you have to give up everything. No, not like that. You can still be in touch with technology. You can still be in touch with what's happening in the world, but not be affected by it, and be able to look at the root cause of what's happening. And one of the things, I also have a background in math. So mathematical mind always, you like to look at the abstract underlying reasons why things happen. So that is a very important thing for all of us, because we create problems because of our own patterns. So if you understand it and fix it, then you can live a better life wherever you are. You don't have to go into philosophy or go into psychology or whatever. You can be in the corporate world and do it too, if that's what you like. But I think the most important thing is you have to really enjoy what you do. So if you do that, then that's a good thing. You can, wherever you are. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you again, and thanks for all the questions. That makes it always nice and interactive. And yeah. Sure.
You can come over here so that others also listen to your question.
Sir, you told us that when we face a problem, we have to face and learn and act towards it. But sometimes people let go of things. Some people let go of the problems we are facing in our lives. So, do you think sometimes it's the right approach?
Let go means what? Can you give a quick example?
Like, if you are facing a problem, let's say I'm not able to submit an assignment. So, like, I'm not working towards it. I'm letting it go. Like, dekha jayega jo.
Yeah. So see, letting go, that kind of a letting go will get you even. You cannot do it for too long, right? You have to see. It's okay to not be stressed about it. To that extent, letting go is a good quality to have. But not letting go in the sense of being careless. You have to let go of the stress and the anxiety and all of that. And you may not even meet the assignment, so you can even say, let go. This particular test I'm going to fail. Okay, so you can let go at that level. But if you just let go and then repeat the same pattern, then you are going to be constantly in the same thing. So you can let go of a particular situation and the stress it creates, but you have to be ready to look into what caused it, learn from it, and act out of it. That is what we're talking about. Anyway, thanks again. I think as Dr. Dhar pointed out, it's important for us to introspect and take away from it even like they always say, even one thing you take away from a talk, but you take it as a living reality for yourself. That's more important than getting, like he said, instead of getting 700 shloks, you take one shlok and understand it fully, that's enough. Just like that in this talk, if you understand that your attitude of facing a problem by learning and acting is far more useful and intelligent way to respond than simply reacting in panic. To learn and act with the right attitude. I think if that's one thing that can be taken away from this, I think that's a time well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for adding your captivating observations and amazing thoughts. I think each one of us here is highly motivated. With this, we come to the end of the event. Thank you all for attending the session.